My biggest discovery in my life is not, aging biomarkers or generative chemistry. It's actually Dr. Ren. I was really afraid that Dr. Ren would not join us. Because the day I met him, I thought that, okay, well, this is the person to, lead us into the future. He started using this AI to start setting world records. And to my knowledge, we've set a few, especially from biology to chemistry and then all the way to human clinical trials. Well, I was born in Latvia, so it has a little bit more flexibility. My background is actually in computer science originally, so I did my first 2 bachelor degrees in Canada. I started my career in semiconductors. I made enough money in my early 20s to go anywhere I want, to do whatever I like. And decided to go into biotech, specifically into life extension.
I compete with others to get this chance.
So the important thing is you're lucky, and lucky is a very important thing.
Yes.
More important than anything else.
Exactly.
So I did my graduate work at Johns Hopkins and then moved to Moscow for a little while, to Russia, to do my PhD in physics. Specifically looking at aging, and also worked at a lab there. At the time of approximately 2012-2013, we realized that there is a revolution in AI. So many technologies have converged together. Today I have to meet with. When we entered the industry, it was very tempting to go into imaging, because it already performed very well. We decided not to do that because we wanted to create something new and go into the areas that do not have a solution. I started looking into the field of deep learning for biomarker discovery originally, so to understand fundamental human biology. And in about 2013, I moved back to Baltimore, and we started in silico at the emerging technology centers. The islands, make them look different. Where are the AGVs?
AGV in our London office, yes.
第一次跟 Alex 见面是在电话上，我们没有见面，就是我们讨论了其实是就是关于这个 AI 跟制药的这个问题。然后当时觉得 Alex 是对以后这个 AI 如何是改变这个人类的新药研发，有着非常强的这个强烈的意愿和这个比较远大的这个憧憬吧。同时呢，也是一个非常聪明的人，然后有这个意志，尤其是 Alex 跟我说，他已经把自己以前所有的积蓄啊，所有的东西。个人的所有东西都投在公司里面之后，就是我其实还是挺感动的，因为像这样的创业者还是非常少的。
Well, I was really afraid that Dr. Ren would not join us. Because the day I met him, I thought that, okay, well, this is the person to, lead us into the future. If you are just doing AI. And unfortunately, the total available market there is very small. And also the cycles are very long. And the pharmaceutical companies also are building the expertise in AI, so it's very difficult to provide them something that they do not have at this point in time. So the best business model that you can pursue in our field, aside from being a service provider, is to develop your own therapeutics. If you want to develop your own therapeutics, you need to have somebody like Dr. Ren, somebody who already has done that using traditional approaches, and then could use the power of AI to do it faster, better, and most importantly, with higher probability of success.
当制药的团队就是慢慢的去利用 AI， 他发觉这个 AI 确实能帮助我们在这个真正的提高效率啊，比如平时我们要做 100个画后或者200个、300个画后才能做到一个 PEC 的时候，我们通过 AI 的加持，我们可以大大的减少这个做的画后的量。做药嘛和 AI 毕竟是2个团队，而且这个理念有一些也是有一些不一样。比如说 AI 讲究的是你的效率啊、速度，对吧？那做药呢、制药呢是讲究的是你的合规性、安全性，这是你的底线。所以刚开始合作的时候肯定需要一个磨合的过程。所以说，等你相信一件事情的时候，这个合作起来就更顺畅了。
So we have so far have never had a conflict. When we have any disagreements, we resolve them very, very quickly. And because it's almost like academic respect.
But if, for example, in future we really have some conflict or disagreement, Alex will be the person to make the final decision because he has the vision for AI and also DD. I'm still more, focused on the drug discovery empowered by AI. Right? So
I do not see a chance for us to disagree majorly where I would need to make a final decision. So,
Right.
Dr.
So how did you meet Dr. Li Ge?
Actually, it's a fun story, and it's also a very long and painful story. In 2017, we raised from a company called Juvenescence. And suddenly, after we announced, many investors came to us asking to invest as well. And one of them was a big fund from California, a huge mega fund, very expert in biotech. They said, okay, I want to invest. And I said, well, we just closed. And he said, well, just open it up for me for a little bit because I want to be in your company. I said, okay, fine, great. Let me talk to Juvenescence because now they just invested, maybe we can extend the round. So I talked to Juvenescence. Juvenescence said, okay. And immediately they said that, we, in addition to investing, we actually want to do a little bit of due diligence right now to learn a little bit about the market.
Nothing.
And the story began. I understand, but here you can see September, October, November, they were in the data room and they were talking to everybody in my team. They were talking to all the customers, trying to understand the algorithms, trying to understand the data. And we explained to them that, look, if your algorithm is good, if you approach the challenge with the algorithm in mind, you can very often avoid having machine learnable, easy to train data. And we created a huge public data set that we can learn from and learn on and test the algorithms that work on dirty data. And then they went quiet and I'm like, guys, why? So now the funny thing is that when that investor went quiet, 2 months later, they announced that they've incubated a new company.
Really?
That has very similar name, that has very similar concept, and that is run by a very famous person. And luckily, at the same time, so during those due diligence processes, I also met Wuxi, and they validated my chemistry. So I was also pitching our chemistry expertise that the other investor didn't even care about. And they said, actually, you know what, Alex, you don't need to do biology, you just need to do chemistry, because that's where you're valuable. And I presented to Dr. Li Ge once in November 2017, and he believed in us. And they said, well, you know what, why don't we lead your round? And when that investor went quiet, Wuxi immediately said that, you know what, we're going to save you. We're going to give you some money, not a lot. And we're also going to introduce you to a few other investors.
You don't want your incubator.
And in 2018, in the beginning, when that investor went quiet, they invested. China is always open for business. China is, the culture is always open. So the reason why we decided to move our headquarters to China was because the paradigm shift in the industry, which we observed in IT, where you can have design in California, made in China paradigm. So huge factories became available in China in early 2000s, and a lot of IT companies moved here. So we learned from that. In biotech, you can design your molecule anywhere in the world, but you will have to make it synthesized here, tested here.
So it's possible we add some about isolation.
I do like China very, very much, and I actually think that China is kind of the island of sanity in the world. Here you've got a plan, you're, grown up, so it's all about survival, about credibility, about planning, about execution.
What's the implication when Dr. Ren turned your co-CEO?
Oh, so he first joined as a CSO, so Chief Science Officer, and he turned the company around. So at that time, we were already in China, but I had only 3 people, and one was leaving. And we were at J&J Labs trying to scale up. And I was thinking, okay, how do I find great talent in China?
Chinese.
But when Dr. Ren joined, his credibility, his reputation, his passion, his knowledge of the industry, he managed to build a team in a year. So in 1 year, we already had almost 100 people here. Collaboration is usually better than just doing it yourself. Currently, we are in a position in our company history where for the first time I feel comfortable.